so much to me. Oh, baby. Oh. Before I go south.
I'm not going to share my name, but I'll tell you this fun story. So earlier this year, I traveled and lived in Spain, and this is actually around January 15th of this year, and I took my first trip to Sevilla. I decided to book the flight the night before because I was very excited to be in the country and to travel and everything, but I couldn't convince any of my friends to go with me because it was on such short notice. The flight was like $30 round trip from Madrid. So anyways, I said, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. And the next morning I got up and I went to the airport. And before I went to the airport, I took some things out of my bag, you know, like a hat from the day before, maybe a notebook from class, my passport. Because who needs their fucking passport when they go to the airport, right? So I get to the airport and I'm eating my McDonald's and I'm approaching the gate and I'm thinking, oh shit, like I was running back through my homework to make sure I didn't forget anything. I thought about my passport, looked up the laws online in Spain. Can't do shit without a passport, can't book the plane. So I go up to the lady, and I'm talking to her in Spanish, the flight attendant who checks the tickets. And she says, like I tell her the whole situation, I have my passport screenshotted, all this stuff, and I'm running off 5 hours of sleep, so I doubt it very convincing. But fortunately, she actually lets me through, you know, she makes a call, and I'm totally good. Get on the flight. Immediately, I lose hearing in my right ear while I'm on the flight, and I'm like actually like completely deaf in one ear for the day, with like only a little bit of hearing on the other one, but I'm still like determined. So I get there and I trim my ear a little bit, and I walk around the whole city the whole day. My flight was probably, I got in at 7 a.m. and I left at 10 p.m. and I walked throughout the day. I walked actually on the dot 25 miles. And, you know, the whole day I was deaf and all this stuff, and I thought, okay, fuck it. It worked one way getting on the plane. I should be able to get home just fine with the same method. So I go to the airport, and picture this, I have 5 hours of sleep, I can't hear, I'm so tired, and I'm getting to the airport, and I'm like, okay, they have to let me on the plane. Like, it worked on the way here. So I talked to the lady, and she's like, I'm going to call the police on you if you try to get on this plane. I'm like, are you serious? There's no one else I could talk to? Like, are you for real right now? She goes, yeah, like, you have to leave. Like, I suggest finding another route. So I start walking out of the airport, and I'm looking at, like, places where I could rent a car and all this stuff. Obviously, like, all I had with my ID was just what I have right now. And then I walked the wrong way, actually. I walked towards where I entered, which is not where I'm supposed to exit. So I had to walk past again, came back, and finally made one last plea with the woman, and fortunately some dude was nearby, and he overheard the whole thing and helped me out and let me on the plane. But yeah, after that, obviously my hearing came back, but I was sick for like 10 days straight. So I guess the moral of the story, I guess when it comes to traveling or enjoying yourself, don't jump the gun, you know, pace yourself. I guess don't try to board an international flight without a passport, but if you do, be very convincing and persuasive. That's all I got.
Alright, so the story I would like to share is I got robbed. Alright, I got robbed. So I'm in the car and I get pulled over by a cop. And it's regular, I feel like it's a regular cop car, you know, I'm not really looking. I'm in the car with my parent. And I look at the bag, they pull me over. 8 big dudes in ski masks, right? Start robbing me. They take everything in my bag, and they take me, I'm stranded. They take me into Africa. And I'm in Africa, and I have to make, like, food for, like, I have to process the food so we can bring it to the U.S., right? And I sit there, and I'm making, what's so funny, guys? What are you laughing at? I'm making everything, I import it. I eventually get free, you know, I'm stranded, I'm homeless. I get robbed again. They take my cardboard house that I'm living in. And, you know, I ended up going to an orphanage and getting adopted, so never saw my parents again.
That brought us here today.
Brought us here today.
We're good. We're good.
Okay, so basically, this is a real story. So, we were at a park. It's like, I think you guys know it. It's like nearby. It's like the Arts Park, yeah. And so when we were there was this guy. This guy,
He was probably like 9.
yeah, he was younger than us, for sure. And then after that, he asked, what did he ask? What do we want to play? If we wanted to play tag. We said yes. We played tag for like 5 minutes, I think. And then after that, he was like, can we play something where I'm your guys' like killer or something like that?
Like killer/stalker.
And okay, now this is your part.
No, it's not. It's your part.
Okay, so then after that, I guess like we were just like running away from him, and so I had 3 people, three,
Her brother and
yeah,
then his 2 friends.
and then his 2 friends, and so they were like being like really stupid, and they were at like the top of like a slide, yeah. And so then after that, I was being stupid, and I ran to like the whole other side of the park. This dude comes up chasing me. He put, I don't know if it was real or not, but he put a gun up to my head or something like that. I don't really know. And then after that, I ran back to like my brothers or something, and I told them that. Okay, now it's your part.
And then I was going down the slide. Okay, so I was going down the slide, and when I get to the bottom of it, I'm like looking before I go out, and then he's waiting for me with the gun.
Tell him, your brother, my brother, right? He was like, my brother wouldn't let her go down.
So I was trying to go down, and then I see him at it like with the gun, and I was like, no. And then I start climbing back up, and I was trying to get her brother's friend to help me up, and they pull me up, and he starts climbing up the slide with the gun.
And then after that, I'm like, I didn't really know, so I was like standing like right at the slide. I was like standing right there, and then this is your part.
And then Blakely, she starts crying, and then we leave, and then his mom starts screaming at him for like harassing us.
And then after that, they start chasing us, like not chasing.
Oh yeah, we were like leaving,
they were like stalking us,
and they were like chasing us.
And then we had to go back to the Cheesecake Factory.
Cheesecake.
Wait,
Food hall.
The food hall. And we went back to the food hall, and then my mom was like, my mom was like being mad at my brother for not helping us, but he was, because he was like, he was just there.
The story's done.
Yeah, the story's done.
When I was in 3rd grade, I was just minding my own business about to sharpen my pencil. And then some kid came up to me and pulled down my pants. And then he didn't just get my pants, he got both the underwear. Oh no, I wasn't wearing any underwear that time. And then he pulled it down, and everyone saw my wiener and my butt because it was in the middle of the classroom. And then like after that, I didn't really care, so I thought it was funny. So then I went to gym, and then some kid told on us, and then I got sent to the office. Then the kid that pantsed me was like really like nervous because he thought I would tell, but I kind of made up an excuse of how he just slipped and grabbed my pants when he was sharpening his pencil, so none of us got in trouble.
Well, a story that I wanted to tell was in my organismal class in biology. We were talking about like mammals and just taxonomy and phylogenetic trees in general, and one of the factors about like mammals was asked in the class. Like the professor asked what was a differentiating factor about mammals, and I raised my hand in class and I said titties, and then the whole class started laughing at me, and then he was like, Valerie, we were gonna call them mammary glands. And then yeah, so that was just a funny story, but yeah.
Both young and old, shape your mind which way to go.
The thing, like I said, man, is to be doing kind of status my whole life. I started in 2000, I was 18 years old, and now I'm 42 years old. That's how I love doing calisthenics, man. So I can try to keep my body, man, like natural, man. And I'm working out every day, 7 days a week for 25 years. On the beach, Hollywood Beach. I love to be here, man. And sometimes teaching the people, man, I ain't not better than anybody, and nobody better than me. But you know, I'm here helping the people to work out, man, to do the right thing, man. And I'm gonna say it one more time right now. Consistency, discipline, number one, man. Consistency.
So I'm gonna tell a story about the time that I watched this UFO like during the summer. It was like about 10 years ago, I'd say. So I used to like spend a lot of time outside. I was always like an outdoor kid, and I remember like one night during the summer, I lived in New York, and I saw this like weird light in the sky. It was like flashing on and off. It looked like a really bright star, but you know, it would like be there and then it would go away and it would like come back. And I remember watching this light like day after day throughout the entire summer. Some days it would be there, some days it wouldn't be there at all, and some days it would just be like going on and off. And then the weirdest thing happened one of these days. I was watching it and it just like started to move all of a sudden. After that, I never saw it again. It moved, like it flew away, and I never saw it again. I don't know what it was, but you know, I'm a firm believer that there's like, you know, other things out there that we don't quite know about yet. So, you know, I don't have an explanation for that, but I think it makes a cool story. You know, a UFO sighting.
So the prompt of tell a story is a very vague and vast prompt, and it causes me to think of lots of different stories. I have stories that I experienced when I went to different countries. I have stories that I experienced in everyday life or with people I love. But a story that came to mind on my heart was probably the story of my mom and my mom's mom, and how my mom's mom, aka my grandma, helped save my mom's life. So it's a bit of a sad story, but I wanted to share it. So my grandma was always very ill, and but she was always in and out of the hospital. But this last time we knew that this was it for her, and she was 2 weeks in the hospital, and my mom, of course, was devastated that her mom was passing away. She was visiting my grandma in the hospital when she was going to go to her car to get something to eat, because she had been there all night with my grandma. And on the way to her car, she started experiencing a very severe pain in her head. She had a very bad headache, and what she was actually experiencing, that we would later find out, she was having a heart attack. It's a good chance that she was in the hospital with my grandma, because her being there saved her life. So she went down the elevator, she got a really bad headache, and she couldn't figure out where to go, but then she saw the emergency sign, and that emergency sign helped her like say, oh, well, I have a really bad headache, I have to go to work tomorrow. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to the emergency room. So she went to the emergency room, and there was a long line in front of her, but it's a good thing that the nurse that was there, she saw that my mom wasn't doing very good. So she told everyone, I'm sorry, but she looks like she's not doing good, so I'm going to admit her now. So my mom was having a heart attack, and they admitted her that day, the same hospital where my grandma was spending her final days. And we visited her, but she didn't tell us that she had a heart attack. She wanted to keep that a secret. But what ended up happening is that after tests that they ran, they found out that she had several blockages in her heart, and they went to do a stem surgery. I waited in the hospital for her surgery. It was all day. She came back later on in the nighttime, and I was also sick during that time. So my grandma was sick, my mom was sick, and I was sick. When she came back from the surgery, she was still sedated, but the nurse told me that unfortunately the surgery was unsuccessful. And what had happened was that it was too advanced, the blockages, for her to actually have a successful stent put in. So what they had to do was they had to transfer her to another hospital for open heart surgery. So my mom, she was still asleep when I found out that she would need open heart surgery. And then when she woke up, the nurses had to tell her that information. Now, I knew that it was a very serious surgery and that the nurse told me secretly that this was a very life-saving surgery because my mom had a blockage in the part of the heart that would suddenly cause a heart attack and she could die at any moment. So it was a very hard time because I knew my grandma was dying and then my mom potentially could die at any moment. So that was a pretty intense period. So it was Tuesday night that she went out of the unsuccessful surgery, and then I was with her when the night came and the doctor said that she really needs to get transferred. But what happened was that there were no spots for the hospital that she needed to go to. So the nurse said that, hey, it could be by the end of the week before she gets her surgery. But she told me that to prepare myself because she could have a heart attack at any moment. But things started happening and like God's hand was on it. My mom, that very same night that she got out of the unsuccessful surgery, a spot opened up at the new hospital where she was going to get her surgery, and the last paramedics on the team of that rotation, they took her and they transferred me and her to the other doctor in the hospital, and then that we transferred to like 12 in the morning, and then she got prepared for surgery that Wednesday. And then the doctor said that, hey, we don't know when we can get her in. We still have a lot of people on the list. But after running the test, they realized how serious her condition was. And they ended up having her triple bypass open heart surgery the next day. But what they didn't tell me was that my mom had a very low chance of getting out of the surgery because they weren't sure she was going to make it to the end. But on the positive side, my mom did end up getting through the surgery, and she did end up living to see another day. And even though things aren't always the best between me and my mom, she's still my best friend, and I'm so grateful that she's still with me to this day. And even though my grandma did pass away 3 days after my mom's surgery, if it wasn't for my grandmother's current predicament during that time, my mom wouldn't have been saved. They wouldn't have gotten to her in time. So even in my grandmother's final days, she still gave life to one of her daughters, which was my mom. So I think that's a beautiful story of love. Okay, thank you.
Hey guys, my name is David. I'm the CEO from Cripsin Dopamine, the best pequeños in New York. Now we're here in Florida to enjoy the vacation, time off. We're super happy to stay here. What else?
Do you have a story to tell?
Yes.
Tell a story.
About me?
Yeah, any story you have.
Any story, so.
Yeah.
We arrived from Venezuela in 2018 because the situation in our country was every year worse and worse and worse. But it's okay. When we arrived to New York, we started thinking something. We're opening our own restaurant, but the pandemic is coming and we're broke. But a few months later, we created one idea. One piece of cheese wrapped with crispy dough. Simple. So we start Cripsin Dopamine. You see here? The best pequeños in New York. Now we're here sitting in Hollywood Beach, but next year we'll be famous. 100%. See you.
I'm gonna have to ask my friend, because I be forgetting some of my stuff. I be saying so much that I forget my stories, bro. So I might look at him from time to time. You can come right here, bro.
Whenever you're ready, though.
Okay.
You want to sit down too? No, it's all right. Okay. Right.
Bro, how did the story go again, bro? I forgot. About the Liberty City shirt?
So you pulled up to pull up to her house, right?
How did it
First
go?
thing she did when she got in the car, she was like, "It's cold in here."
Okay, so I was with I don't know how you're gonna edit it, but I was bored, you know, and I was bored. I was looking for something to do, so I was on dating app, da 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 da. And I love black women, so, but I don't go to the hood too much. I don't really dabble in the hood a whole lot, but I don't mind going. And it's kind of crazy, bro, because I'm like, I'm not thinking about like, oh shit, like what's gonna be in the hood. Like, you're not supposed to just drive to Liberty City off the whim like that. So I'm talking to this girl. I'm like, yeah, I'll come. So I go to Liberty City. I don't give a fuck about nothing else. I just want to go to Liberty City. I just want to see what she talking about. So I go in. I fucked up because I go inside. I could have got robbed too because I'm not thinking about nothing, bro. I'm just thinking about I just want to, I want to get some. I want to just, So I go. And I don't mind, like, I ain't care. I was like, okay, my grandpa from the hood. I go to the hood. So I go in, and I'm not used to hood chicks. Like, I'm used to, like, black women, all that. I love black women, but I'm not used to, like, the hood like that. So I go in, she opened the door, and the air conditioner too cold. She was like, what's that? And then she just turned it down. I got scared. I wasn't used to the hood shit. So I was like, oh, shit. I got a little scared, like, because I wanted to tell her to turn it down, but I was like, fuck, I'm gonna let it slide. So I'm driving, and I kind of lied. I was gonna act like I was gonna take her somewhere, but I wasn't. I was just I was like, oh, let's just go to the beach, whatever. She's like, all right, cool. So we go to the beach. It was real windy, and I was gonna try to put some game on her, but she wasn't having it, bro. She was just like, I want to go home. Like, she just like real rude. I was like, oh fuck, bro. Like, I didn't even know how to handle her, nothing like that. I was like, fuck, like, what I do? And I kind of wanted to just take her ass back home, like get her an Uber, but now I was like, that'll be fucked up. I can't do that. So I was like, you know what? I'll take her home, bro. But long story short, bro, that was like my first time like with like a real like masculine chick, and it kind of scared me, bro. Like, I'm used to a feminine woman, but that girl's too masculine for me. Like, everything she did, like, I thought I was gonna be able to handle it, whatever, and I got cold, bro. I got cold turkey. I was like, oh, no, I'm good. And that was kind of end of the story. Once I did that, she was so rude that I was like, I just blocked her. I never want to see her again. But I will go back to Liberty City, though. See what Liberty City's about. I'll go back to the hood again. I'll go to the hood every now and then. But that was just my first time, like, dealing with, like, a super masculine chick. So that's my story, bro.
So I'm on Black, right? I'm looking for some shit because I'm horny. I need something to do. I found this one chick I told you about, bruh. And, she like anime and stuff. I'm like, fuck, she looks kind of cute. So let's go. I get her number. I get her IG. And we hit it off, right? I call her the next day. She's like, hello, who is this? Like, hey, this is so-and-so you're talking. Bro, she literally said, ugh, stranger danger. And hung up the phone. I was like, yo, what the fuck? And then my homeboy, I think sometime past, my homeboy, he seen her profile. I looked at it, I was like, hey, nigga, I'm gonna let you know what happened. Hey, I was hoping he got some, so I was like, hey, hate fucking for me, bro. Like, do her some justice. But it didn't work out with her. Can I tell another story, too? So there's other story. There's this one chick I met off the same app, right? I think she was a single mom or whatever. So, give me some money for the babysit the kids. I was like, yeah, sure. Didn't do that shit. Mind you, this is the first time I got my driver's license. This is in 2022. So I feel like I'm the man, right? It's late at night. I'm driving. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. And I get a flat tire. I fuck up my tire. I'm thinking, yo, I'm making it home with this flat tire. No, I can't. I call like AAA. It took like 3 hours for them to come by. I'm in the fucking hood with no AC. And I'm sitting in the car like, man, what the fuck am I doing right now? She told me, oh, I got a flat tire too. I'm like, what the fuck is this? She like, oh, can you give me some money? I'm like, bitch. But I still sent the money, I don't know why. Then months go by. She's like, oh, like, I'm looking for a real man to take care of me financially. I was like, all right, whatever, bitch. Did my taxes. I got $3,000 back. So I was like, I'm up. Fuck you. Life's great. All right, that's it.
Hi, so I grew up in central Illinois. That's where my family's from. And as I look back on my childhood, I'm reminded my family was very involved in ministry to the inner city community where we lived, kind of a lower income, high crime area. And as my parents became more and more involved in, trying to reach out and help our neighbors, provide education opportunities for kids in the area, providing tutoring opportunities and different things like that, my response, unfortunately, was just really like being full of like pride and selfishness and like looking down on those in our community who maybe didn't have their lives together in the way that I thought they should. But anyways, when I really started to understand the gospel and started to follow Jesus is when my heart began to change, and Jesus started to give me like a love for those in my community, and I ended up starting to like volunteer at some different ministries in the community, and that really became something I was passionate about. And then in 2022, I had the opportunity to travel to South Asia and to a third world country there with just tremendous need, tremendous poverty, tremendous just a lot of, very difficult lives for those who were there. And I ended up deciding that I wanted to move there and live there just to be able to, serve those in that country and help them have a better life. And, really most importantly, share about the love of Jesus that I had experienced. So just about a year ago is when I moved to South Asia. And, so I'm just, as I look back on my life, I'm just so thankful for, just how Jesus just gave me a new heart. And now just the joy and purpose I experience as I serve other people is just, there's nothing that could be more satisfying than it. So thanks for listening.
So I have a story. I try to tell this story and everyone thinks I'm like cuckoo crazy for Cocoa Puffs, whatever. But pretty much what ended up happening was it was either in like second or third grade. I remember visually I was sitting down at the table, I had a bowl of cereal, right? And in my house there's like the hallway and then to the right is the kitchen. And so I'm sitting down here and I'm eating my cereal and I see my mom walk past me and go into the kitchen. And then all of a sudden I'm eating my cereal and I look up and I see a Grim Reaper that floats like down my hall. And I didn't look, in the memory that I have, I didn't look back at the Grim Reaper. A lot of people think that I'm crazy. They said that there was something in the cereal, but it's a very vivid memory of me as a kid. It could have been a dream, but I don't know. It's something that I remembered, and it's not a story that I tell a lot because I get a lot of jokes made about me, but I tell it anyway. So.
Okay, so when I was in EMT school, I had to do ride-alongs to the fire department, which is basically where you have to go with the fire department. You just go and you just do things. You go for like 12 hours a day, and you do whatever it is. That you run their calls and you help them out with things, and it's like a really good learning experience. And I remember this one time I was at the city of Hollywood, and it was the first call that day. And it was like 8 or 9 in the morning, and I got there at like 7 in the morning, so it was like right off the rip. There was like already stuff, and it was of an overdose. And the police called to an overdose, and
we got there too. It was like 5 minutes away. We went there with lights and sirens, and then there was it was this guy. He was completely like dead on the ground. He was completely dead. He was blue. He wasn't breathing, and the police were there, and they said they already gave him this drug called Narcan, which is to reverse an opioid overdose, and they already pushed the Narcan, and the paramedics, we got there. I remember the one paramedic I was with, he ran up so fast, and he came up to him, and he was like, he stuck this thing called an OPA. It's this thing that's shaped like this, and it goes into the mouth to take the tongue off. Like when someone's unconscious, their tongue is relaxed, and that can occlude the airway. So, like it basically like it takes the tongue off of it, clears the tongue from the airway, and he stuck it in, and then like immediately when he stuck it in, they started doing this thing with they started bagging him, where they started like it was basically them breathing for him, and he woke up, and I remember he pulled it out of his mouth, like literally, like it's like he's already done it before, like he's been there before, and he pulled it out of his mouth, and he like woke up like super wide-eyed, and it's like, bro, like this guy was just dead and like blue, and he came out of it, and I thought that was beautiful, because that was one of the first things I ever experienced with the fire department, and I thought it was really cool because I got to see like just how quick the paramedics work. So yeah, thank you so much.
So maybe this is like, you know, like a personal thing, but whenever you're a kid and you envy the other kids that have a broken arm or a broken leg, you're in elementary school, okay? And you're like, damn, I could really use someone to come to carry my tray for me. So one time I brought this to my siblings, my 5 other siblings, and I was like, do you guys like get jealous that the other kids like get their trays carried for them in the lunchroom? And they're like, yeah. So then I was like, well, let's like try to break her arm or something. It's a Saturday. My parents are inside watching the news or something. We go outside and there's like a rock chimney or whatever. And we're like, let's just like not do anything too serious. Just jump off and try to break her arm. Well, this is going to end pretty poorly because none of us broke our arm. But we did stay out there for about 2 hours jumping off of the chimney trying to break our arm for attention. And that's that. Okay, so one time, me and my older sister, I was 4 years old and she was 5 years old. And she had this little, like, baby doll play set or whatever. For some reason, it was made of, like, poles, like metal poles. So we were like, okay, let's go, like, sword fight, of course. So we were in our room sword fighting. And then I hit her in the nose really hard. And she started gushing out blood. So I was like, oh, my God, I killed you. She, like, dropped to the floor just holding her nose. So I ran to the other room to go get my mom. And I was like, I just killed Sam. I just killed Sam. As a 4-year-old crying. And my mom was like, what the hell? And so she ran into the other room. But my little sister, or my older sister, was just on the floor just holding her nose. And she was like, I'm okay, Brie, I'm okay. But I scared the living shit out of my mom. And I thought I killed my sister.
Alright, so this one time I was spearfishing off the coast. Shore diving, actually. And on my way out, we saw absolutely nothing. It was such a barren day. We just kept on pushing out, me and my buddy, and we saw nothing. And then we only had the one spear gun. We were taking turns holding it. It was his first time going out, so I wanted to let him get some trigger time. He went down and tried on a little fish, but missed. And we just kept going around all day. We saw nothing. And when he had the spear gun, I saw this huge mackerel swim under me, the biggest I'd ever seen in my life, and I didn't have the spear gun on me, which was just kind of a kick to the throat, really, because seeing nothing that day and then seeing that beautiful fish just swim by, and we missed it. But then on our way back in, I was holding the spear gun, and I run into a cobia. I don't know if you guys know what a cobia is, but really rare to see one that close to shore. So I go down, I line up, and I take the shot, and I stone it, and that is the best day of my life. So I came out with a huge 3.5 foot long fish slung over my back, walking back to the car, and everybody on the beach is just staring right at me. And that fish was the best fish I've ever eaten.
right, guys, I'm going to tell you guys the story that I like to call the Great Flood. It happened not too long ago. I was 18 years old, and I'm 19 now, so yeah, not that long ago. But yeah, one day it was just a normal day, and I felt like in that moment, life was kind of boring. You know, like there wasn't that much going on, and I wanted a little flair into my life. So I just said to myself out loud, man, I wish something would happen. Like, I wish something eventful, something interesting, something that would get me going would happen. So I put that out there, and about 2 or 3 hours later into the day, it starts raining. It starts fucking raining like crazy. And at first, I live in a neighborhood that floods a little bit, so I just thought, okay, it's just going to be like a normal one of the little floods. We're going to get a little water, a little rain. Cool. And it's raining, and slowly it starts flooding, and I'm like, okay, it should stop soon. And it never stops. It keeps raining, and it keeps raining, and eventually it got so bad to the point where, so I live in like a 2-story house, and on the bottom floor of the house, it's divided into separate sections where we have tenants, people that live and stay there. And we have this one guy that lives in one portion. We call him Joe Bob. And Joe Bob, he's an older man, and he had just gotten hip replacement surgery. So he wasn't able to walk that well on his own. And mind you, my house is in like a little bit of a swell. So all the water from all the neighborhood that comes, it all just builds up right where my house is. And Joe Bob's a little stubborn. We were trying to tell him to come to the second story of the house a little earlier so that he didn't have to be in his apartment when the room started flooding. But he's stubborn, and he stayed in the room a little too long. And by the time I went down to get him, it was so flooded. It was like a river going up and down my street. And there were like cars started floating, and it was really bad. But my parents told me, you have to go help Joe Bob, bring him up here to safety. So I'm like, man, all right. And I go outside my house. I go down the alley to where his apartment is. And I open the door for him. I have to pry the door open because there's so much water flowing, pushing the door closed. I pry the door open, and there's Joe Bob. He decided to wear, for some reason, like the heaviest clothes you could possibly wear during a flood. He wore like a heavy sweatshirt with long sweatpants, and he had 3 plastic bags with all the stuff that he wanted to bring so that it didn't get wet. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I pry the door open for him. He comes out in his rain boots, his outfit, and he starts walking. Instead of going the short way where he just cut straight up the alley and make a left up this little hill that goes straight to my front door, he decided to go all the way around to the front of the house on the street where the water was the roughest. So as soon as he gets to that area, water starts just filling his boots. It was too much. His clothes start soaking up all the water, and it makes him heavier. And in my head, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get to my front door and make sure it's open and make sure that when he gets there, it's easy for him to get into the house to safety. That was a mistake on my part. I should not have left him on his own. I get to my front door, I open the door, and I turn around. And just as I turn around, he falls into this river that's going down the street. He just falls. He's like, Owen, help! That's all I hear. And I look, and he just falls. And I'm like, shit. And I just immediately jump into action. And I run over to the street, and he's floating. Like, he's immobile. He's not able to control himself. So he's like floating down the river like a bobble. And I just get to him, and I put my arms under his arms, and I grab him, and I lift him up on his feet. I'm like, Joe Bob, stay here. And I was like, I'm going to go get your stuff, because his plastic bags kept floating down the river. I'm like, just stay here. I'm going to get your stuff. And he stand up, he's on his feet, and I start running down in the river to get his bags. And I grab like 2 of the bags, and I'm about to grab the 3rd one, and I turn around, and he falls in the water again. He falls right back in the water, and I'm like, okay, forget the 3rd bag. I go back, and I grab him, and I pick him up, and this time I'm like, all right, I can't leave him. So I put his arm around my shoulder, and and I walk him to my front door. I get him in the house to safety, and he just says, "Hallelujah, thank God, Owen, you saved me." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're welcome, Joe Bob." But it was an interesting story and an interesting experience for me because that was like one of the most extreme moments of my entire life. I saved someone. You know, if I wasn't there, he would have floated down the river and probably drowned, or who the hell knows. But it's a good lesson because you have to be careful what you put out there. You know, what you put out in the universe might just come to you. And that was a good lesson that I learned that day. But yeah, that was my story.